Hey there, Segudo golfers. Tom Segudo here. And it happened as predicted. Once again, I am asking myself the question, do golfers genuinely want to improve, or are they content shooting 95 for the rest of their life? The frustrating part about being a golf instructor online is that you're constantly fighting against the mainstream information that people have been believing for years. And one of those topics is the role of the trail arm in the golf swing. The trail arm being tucked in or untucked. What is the way you should do it? What is the most efficient way? What is the most powerful way? There are golfers who have had their arms tucked in, like Ben Hogan. There are golfers who have let their arm tuck out a little bit, like Jack Nicklaus. The concept of a wide flying elbow isn't the norm among professional golfers, and there's a reason why. It comes down to timing and variables in your golf swing. The best players in the world don't have time to time because you're spending a lot of time on the road, in the air, you're at fast food joints, you're checking in at 3 a.m. Sometimes you're not hitting balls in the travel process. The last thing you want to worry about is your swing. And that's why pros throughout history have relied on the tucking of the trail arm. Tony Lima famously said on the Ed Sullivan Show that the most important part of the golf swing is tucking in the trail arm. If I was going to give anybody one tip, he said, I would keep this arm tucked in, firmly against the body, the top of backswing, and into the downswing. Don't believe me? Look it up on YouTube, Ed Sullivan Show, Tony Lima. You'll see the 10-second tip that has the impact to change your game. He's one of the best ball strikers of all time. So I just recently released a video on the trail arm and why you must tuck it into play great golf. It doesn't matter if you're Jack Nicklaus or Hogan, that arm must be tucked in to play great golf. And we continue to see the same pattern of golfers. I don't know if it's ignorance or just being mad because their whole life they've been told to untuck it, but golfers continue to believe nonsense. So let's just kick it off with the first comment. Mike Abel 7577. This is great advice for the average golfer who hits a few buckets of balls each week. If you're a talented junior golfer, don't listen to this. It will be difficult to compete at the college level, especially the Division I level, if you're driving the ball 275 and hitting 170 yards 7-irons. It's not just Fred Couples and Nicklaus. It's an overwhelming majority of top juniors and D1 college players swinging with an untucked right elbow. Just go to any AJGA tourney and see for yourself. Mike, let's just go in and evaluate your assessment against the top 10 AJGA players right now. We're going to start with Blades Brown. He played at the Myrtle Beach Classic, top player in AJGA, number 1. Top of backswing position. Look at that trail elbow. It's a little untucked, isn't it? He's got some distance from his side. When you see him start down, he's going to have to tuck this arm in. Right here when he starts down, he begins retucking against his side. He's keeping it tucked in at this point. So trail arm, he starts with a little bit out. When he gets to the top, he's right here. When he starts down, he immediately begins reattaching it. Because if he was to keep this arm out, the club would. It has to move over. You cannot keep this arm out. Look at it, it's out here. This is in, out. You can't keep the arm out and have a shallow shaft. It will not happen. If he was having that arm out just before impact, it would look something like this. But no, what we're seeing here, look at that, right there. This. The arm is against the side. He's got it in, not out. Luke Colton. Okay, this is a top of backswing position photo. This needs no explanation, does it? Look at that trail arm tucked against the side. Here we are again. Little space here, that's allowed. We're not talking about short arming it into your side like this. I set the arm here. There's a little space in that setting position. There's about 2 inches. And I go to the top. There's about that same 2 inches. The only difference is the arm has folded, storing power. Second ranked junior player, arm really tucked in. Does that get any clearer? I guess he's not playing really good golf as a second-ranked junior player. Tyler Watts, ranked 3rd AJGA. Starts with his right arm a little bit out. You can see this right arm out from setup. Look at this versus here. Okay, that's a pretty big difference. Usually with somebody like this, we're going to see the arm fly away. Let's see what happens. All right, throws it at the top. That trail arm is even more glued against the side than I could get it. This one is interesting because he's got that arm even more in this way, horizontal, moving it over on top of the pec. When I ride that to the top, he's got it much more out in front of him here. That is firmly glued against his side. That little bit of space there is not a flying elbow, folks. A flying elbow is where you were completely disconnecting that arm from the side. 4th ranked, Miles Russell. Does this need explanation? No, arms tucked in against the side. Once again, that little bit of space that you see is the same space he has at address here. So at the top, there he is. I'm going to go left-handed with it. Top, there he is. It's tucked in. Jackson Bird, that arm is very tucked in from even the face-on view. That's the only photo I could find from his profile. Now, you're seeing this space between the elbow and the side from the face-on view here. That, once again, same thing. If I set up with a little bit of space here between the elbow and the body, at the top, I'm going to have space between the elbow and the body. The arm's staying in the same fixed tucked-in position all the way to the top. It eliminates a ton of variables. This might even be the start of his downswing, too. Just looking at that arm on the way down, even more tucked in. He can't untuck it. He won't play good golf. Logan Riley. All right, top of backswing from the rear view, just so you can see how glued that arm is against the side. He's got that glued almost up to the elbow. You look at his elbow. Look at that thing patched against the body. None of this. In there. Oh, look at that. Halfway back. Halfway back. That's really rotated. A shallower shaft because he's rotating that in hard, and that's not leaving his side. That's a thing of beauty. Top. So he rotates the most firmly against his side, even to the point where he's got the shaft even shallower at the top. Keeping it tucked in. He can't untuck it. It's going to go over. Asher Vargas. Top of backswing. He's got the arm tucked in against the side. The upper arm is still attached. There is space between the elbow. I'm not going to explain this part again. Henson Badger, tough to find a video on his profile. So there's a golfer here with his arm tucked in before impact. That might not be him. So we have evidence of this arm tucked in here. No great players do this apparently, but here is a D1 college, top school, keeping that arm tucked in to impact and beyond. This is another golfer with his arm tucked in against the side, right there, firmly against the side, attached. Out would look like this. You can't play good golf from this position. It's in. This Carson, I don't want to butcher the last name, so I'm just going to say Carson here. This is like your top 11th or 12th AJGA player ranked right now. Top of backswing with driver. Trail arm. Firmly fixed against the side, top of backswing, little space between the elbow and the side because I don't need to explain this again. Tucked in. When he's going to start down, boom, boom. It's going to be right back to the ball. Is this a video? Yeah, it is. Look at that. It doesn't get any more tucked in than that. Start first move down. Like he's right back to the ball because he's already in. It stays in. This is really frustrating that golfers continue to believe this kind of nonsense. We're going to see the same pattern across all great golfers. We're going to go to Freddie and Jack. We'll talk about this. I don't think people actually watch the entire video. They should, because all these questions are answered. All right, here we got Jack's swing. Some key takeaways from Jack's swing right away off the bat. The right arm is not as tucked in. He keeps a little bit out. So he's got more of this Y shape with outward arms. That's going to naturally keep, as he swings his shoulders back. Jack was not a big guy on keeping things complicated. He was big on simplifying it. You can tell even when he talked about the swing, the most important tip is keeping his head in place and turning his shoulders around a fixed point. Really simplifying the swing. So with his elbow out here at setup, what you're going to see at the top, mirror image. If I don't change this position, watch. It flies away just a little bit. For him to hit this ball well, he cannot maintain an untucked elbow. He must reattach the arm and get it in. There is no way around this. If he doesn't, he will come over the top and swing steep like every 30 handicapper out there. So when he starts down, here we go. The tucking process begins. This requires timing. Right there before impact. This is what this position here would look like this before impact. Coming into the ball. Jack is in this position. Right arm fixed to the side. So Jack undergoes the process of going from this unattached to reattaching. Arm gets tucked in. Do I recommend learning Jack's swing? No. Many golfers have attempted to learn Jack's swing and have failed in the process, especially a lot of amateurs, because they say, well, Jack did it, Fred Couples did it, so I can do it. But what you fail to see is the amount of practice hours required to maintain this kind of timing, continuously going out and up and then reattaching. I think you're downplaying the amount of practice hours that goes into hitting the ball well at a professional level when you introduce a timing variable into the equation. Fred is golf's golden boy, had to rely on timing and tempo because of this untucked arm. So going to the top, you see he's keeping his right arm tucked in. He's going to let it fly away right here. Gets far away from his body. So this top of backswing position, very lazy, relaxed to this position. Flying elbow. That's a true flying elbow. He's got about 6 or 7 inches worth of space from that arm and his side. Recreating the Freddie. There we are. You can see the effect of the elbow on the swing. So when Freddie starts down, he's got to get into here, because if the arm stays out, watch. It just goes over. You can't hit the ball from that position. Here we go. The process of reattaching begins right there. Right arm against the side, tucked in, not out. Out is dead, in to win. That requires Krispy Kreme tempo to time this up. It's even more in there. And to impact, look at that arm still staying tucked in against the side. So, Mike, I'm not seeing what you're seeing. And the claim that you make that no golfers should do this, especially junior players, and only average golfers should do this, I'm seeing every great golfer doing this. The ones who are most efficient are the ones who keep it tucked in the top and swing through. The ones who rely on timing are the ones who get it farther away and have to reattach. You shouldn't go through the motion of reattaching the arm to your side. It is unnecessary. You don't need it. It's fluff. It's just fluff. Any move to go and hitting a ball a millisecond at a time, you're trying to coordinate this, it requires a ton of practice, timing, more reliance on tempo. However, this, when it's fixed against the side, just like machinery, like if you were going to create a machine to hit golf balls, you would not introduce a variable of untucking something. The machine would say that's inefficient. The machine would go, no, this is one path, and we go back on the other path. You wouldn't devise a slingshot or a catapult where it would go and then fire it. No, you would go here and then sling it through, because that extra move would have no meaning to the entire process. It would just be wasted motion at that point. Mike, I got one more example for you. This is Wes Patterson, Ultimate Long Drive Champion, 35 plus division, hitting a normal driver. Normal meaning it's not the super long driver that the long drivers are using in competition. This is his playing driver for control. It's a shorter driver than the one in competition. Top of backswing, the arm is tucked against the side. Another thing that really upsets people is how low his hands are. They can't conceive of a powerful swing being from this position here. Apparently it must be up here, but He's got that arm glued against the side. We have the same amount of space. This is the same amount of space I have at the top of my backswing, by the way. I tucked in my trail arm. He tucks in his, and we're in the same position. The difference is he hits the ball a mile, and I'm not a long drive champion. When he starts down, keeps that arm tucked in against the side. It's important to note that as Wes gets to the top here, you see how there's that little bit of untucking going on at the top? You have a limit with keeping this arm tucked against the side with your right shoulder. You can go about this far. If you untuck it a little bit, you'll increase the amount of power by allowing the shoulder to travel an even greater distance. But it's not like he's untucking his arm this way. He's keeping the same amount of tuck in. He's just allowing a little less separation in this direction off the chest. So the arm is in, but there's a little bit more distance here to allow for a greater range of motion. This is not highly technical stuff. This does not require a degree in anything to figure out. It can all be explained. The motion of the trail arm creating speed can all be explained. The relationship between the shoulder, the arm, each joint in here can be assigned a role and be explained. So Wes could untuck his arm at setup, get to the top and be here. But he wouldn't hit it 379 like he did in this video. Still going, still going, still going, still going, still going, still going. Yeah, he just slung it out there, 376 with a playing driver. So where is the lack of speed? Oh, well, he's a long drive champion. Doesn't matter. He's here at the top. He's got speed. People say you won't have any speed. There's speed. Nonsense. Next. Lance Garner 7439 says, grab a baseball, throw it with your right arm tucked, see how far it goes. How much power you have? Very little. Then grab a baseball, throw it with it coming untucked just a couple inches and see how far it goes. Way more power and same control with it untucked. See, Lance is onto something here. And if he watched the video, he would have seen this concept in action. In the video, I talk about the trail arm and the relationship with the shoulder. The trail arm doesn't just move. Look at the shoulder. This is what he's talking about. Throw a baseball like this. This is what he thinks tucked in is. Yes, it's tucked in, but the arm is just moving. The difference is I'm talking about tucked in and moving the shoulder. I can throw a baseball from here quite powerfully. I can't throw a baseball powerfully from here. So the misconception of what is tucked versus untucked. If you think tucked means we've got it in, but then I just simply do this, that's wrong. It's tucked shoulder, tucked shoulder. The people who advocate for untucking the arm are afraid to admit this truth because they just need to know you're one step away from greatness. If you kept it tucked in and you move the shoulder, you'd be great. If you kept it tucked in and didn't move the shoulder, you'd be here. You could never have any power. It was in the video. You didn't watch the video. You just didn't watch the video. You got to watch the video. Jordan Spieth doesn't. Why should I? Jordan Spieth, here we go, driver. All right, top of backswing. Yep, we let it fly away a little bit, didn't we? Okay, same concept. He gets to about here. Jordan keeps it tucked in about halfway. Right there, he's keeping it in, still in against his side, even 3/4 of the way back. Still keeping it in. Then he gradually begins untucking it. And then he gets his hands a lot more vertical at the top. So I wouldn't recommend golfers do this because he's going to have to reattach it. The reattaching process begins here. Now the arm is firmly tucked against the side. It's even more tucked in here. Before impact, it is in that same position I showed you with Fred Couples. In here. He's wasting motion doing this. You could keep the arm in and get the same amount of shoulder turn and not have to go through that whole variable process of lifting and then dropping. So Jordan Spieth does it just later. It's too bad because he could be a lot more consistent. All right, Flying Navy 1 says, Tom, you see so many PGA pros with flying elbows, hence traditional teaching. What say you? By the way, with the addition of the stash, I know deep down you are toying with growing the mutton chops back. Go for it. Well, I have to first say thank you. The mutton chops may not come back in the near foreseeable future. But as far as PGA pros with flying elbows, this is that confusion again. What is flying? Are we talking about this amount of space? Because with most PGA Tour pros, many, you're going to see some space here that's a direct result of them keeping this connection of the upper arm against the side, but there's a little space between the elbow. And then watch the tucking, and the shoulder moves the arm. For any pro who gets that arm flying farther up, unconnecting more, that same player has to reattach and tuck in. So what do I say? I say that a lot of players could be more efficient. I believe that golfers are wasting motion trying to go farther up like this. And that goes for a professional golfer. And then that's where the people are going to make silly comments like, well, you're just a golf instructor, you're not a PGA Tour player, and all this crap. I don't have to be a PGA Tour player to spot inefficiencies in a player's swing. Someone's swing can either be efficient or inefficient. Inefficient just means that you're putting a lot of fluff in it. So to make the swing more efficient, boom, just put it here. Right back to the ball. Next. Ridiculous to miss the ball on purpose. Okay, so this player saw me miss the ball in the recent episode when I kept my arm untucked. I have to show you. All right, we're going to capture this ridiculous moment where I was demonstrating what happens if you keep the arm untucked. So I untuck it here, the takeaway. I keep it untucked all the way to the top. So this is if you never tucked in your trail arm. Here's it tucked in. People say you're not supposed to do that. Okay, so I'm going to untuck it. There it is, it's untucked. When I go to the top, if I kept it untucked, watch this. Untucked, in, out, in, out. Keep it untucked. Move the shoulder around the body, still untucked. Can I show you? See, it's out, in, out, in, out. What's that mean at the top? It means a flyaway elbow way off my side. The people who say, don't tuck it in. Okay, well, I won't. It's untucked. Bring it down. Untucked. Don't tuck it in. Do you see the lunacy, the idiocy here of what people believe about the golf swing? You gotta be careful when you walk into forums and you see this crap about not tucking the arm in. The effect on the shaft, steep. I can't hit the ball. You think I missed that on purpose? I even said right after it, I'm not trying to miss the ball. Ridiculous that he would even make a comment like that. Because look at the shaft, it's still out. Yeah, and you say, well, that's stupid, Tom. Nobody does that. Well, people are making the claim that pros keep it untucked. So you need to know the effect of tucked versus untucked. I'm saying this for your benefit. Untucked. Untucked. It's never tucking in. So look at the clubs just going over and down. That's what you're going to see in this swing right here. I'm keeping it untucked. Untucked, 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 untucked. This was really uncomfortable, by the way. For me to hit this well, I'd have to go from here untucked to reattaching quickly. Just for those who like to study the swing, I'm keeping it untucked. That's why it's going steep. I'm keeping it untucked. It's the same position. It's untucked, untucked. Look how steep and over the top it is. The club is over top of the ball. Why do I miss the ball? Because I'm keeping it untucked. It's not ridiculous. And that's not on purpose. It's ridiculous to keep this untucked throughout the entire swing, yes. It's also ridiculous to claim that you should untuck the arm and have to reattach it. I just keep it in and in. Right here, boom. The difference between me hitting that ball solid and me chunking it and missing the ball is this. In versus out. You'll never hit the ball from this position. You'll hit the ball well from this position all day long. That was not on purpose. That was a natural effect. In fact, I even tried to do it again because I didn't like that one. I had to hit the ball with it. So let's try it again. Oh, this is me actually reattaching. So next swing, I tried to reattach. Boom, I hit that well. So you get to see the reattaching action right here. Reattaching it, tucking it back in. Then I'm hitting with the club behind me, club's behind my hands, into impact. Now the arm's tucked in. So that's the only way I can hit well from an untucked position at the top. That was brutal. I hit that one. Hey, I hit that one. Yeah, so on this one, I hit it. On this, oh, you see, I actually tried to tuck it in a little bit right there. So it wasn't as steep as the other one. Yep, the club is over top of the ball, not outside of the ball like before. So I managed to hit the ball off the toe and chunk the crap out of it. And it went way left. Put yourself in that position. Untuck it right now. Go to the top. Don't do anything with it. Just keep it untucked. Bring it down. Observe where the club is. You'll be over the top. You'll miss the ball. Try hitting a bunch of balls like that. On the other side, tuck it in. Don't change it. Keep it there to the top. Bring it through. You're going to feel an entirely different motion into the ball. You know what's ridiculous is having to answer these questions because they're so typical of golfers that are brainwashed by years of bad instruction. Who Nguyen 5280 says, I disagree. Look at Scheffler and Jack Nicklaus with high backswing and Kuchar with pin right arm resulting no power may be accurate. Okay, so what this person is saying is they disagree. Look at Scheffler and Jack Nicklaus with their high backswings and apparently saying that Kuchar has no power. I'm just going to go right back to Ultimate Long Drive champion Wes Patterson hitting it 376. You saw that video earlier. So no power where? And then if we look at Kuchar, do you say no power is hitting it? What is no power? Like, is 280 no power? Is 290 no power? Do you look at the maximum and say a guy hitting at 320, that's power, so a guy hitting at 290 has no power? I'm just going to go straight to another example of a guy with a short backswing really tucks it in. This is Nikolai Hogard. Look at the length of this backswing. Shorter than Kuchar, and at the top, that arm is very tucked in. Right to there, hits at 307. So where does no power come in? Are you saying that Scheffler with a higher arm has more power? Hogard outdrives Scheffler. I think Scheffler drives at 290 something on average. This guy's in the threes. So you're saying this is a must for power when there is no correlation. Boom, right back to the ball as fast as he wants to hit it. As far as he wants to hit it. As fast as he wants to swing it, as far as he wants to hit it. When people make comments like this, they say, well, no power. And then you realize, well, what's the power needed to play the golf course? For pros, you look at the average driving distance. It's going to be somewhere in the 280s to 290s. So we consider that to be ample power to play the golf course at a professional level. And that means if you're getting somewhere around 290 range, you're doing great with the power side of things. I don't know why people have to say, well, I mean, especially making the argument of Scheffler hitting it shorter than Hogard. Shorter by 10 yards. Does that mean Scheffler's short? No. Short. 290 is still a long way. It just means that Hogard's outdriving him with a more tucked in trail arm. So that would tell you that Hogard's swing is more efficient than Scheffler's. And it has nothing to do with Scheffler winning more than Hogard. It's just looking purely at it from a power perspective. Hogard is using less effort because he's got the club here at the top of the driver versus Scheffler going here. So Scheffler's using more. Hogard's here, hitting it farther. Scheffler's here, hitting it shorter than Hogard. All right, next comment. Here we go again. Someone forgot to tell Jack Nicklaus and John Daly and Phil Mickelson and Tom Watson, etc., etc., etc. We have a way to measure their swings and prove that this move requires absolute timing. And I don't know where Phil Mickelson comes from. Phil Mickelson actually has this. All right. What's Phil Mickelson? Oh, here we go. Gosh, this is tucked in. Phil's always swung the same way. He's got it in. Yeah, there's space between the elbow and the side. The elbow, not the upper arm. There you go, Phil. It's the same thing. It's in. He doesn't have it out. It's not flying away. Somebody forgot to tell him. I don't think anybody. It's in. The arm is in. Do we need to explain this position again? I bet we're going to see with John Daly, too. Steep. Look at the shaft at the top of Phil. It's shallower. This is just the most valuable concept you could learn out in. And then in between there are degrees. So the more I tuck it in, the shallower it gets. The more I untuck it, the steeper it gets. Okay, John Daly. That arm is staying really connected against his body, 3/4 of the way back, keeping it connected still. And he lets it fly at the top. Now, we're seeing that phenomena happen again. So he's got it in, and then I'm mirroring JD right here. So let's watch how he has to tuck that back in on the way down. Right? The retucking process begins. He's retucking it to his side, and he's back in right here. Does he need to do that? No. I think it's a miracle that he did. It's really a spectacle. We should study him like we study Keith Richards. So I think Daly had the most efficient swing. No, I think he could have been even longer had he had this arm in and here. But do I want John Daly to be that way? No, I think I'll take John Daly's personality just the way it is right now. And golf needed that gem because it was very much like Happy Gilmore coming onto the scene. I just think we shouldn't replace John Daly. Next one. He said, okay, once again, Jack Nicklaus. We talked about Jack, Tom Watson. We're not going to go there. This is actually the most common comment I'll get is the one with, we'll tell that to insert one player who does it outside of the norm. We can measure every player. I could measure Tom Watson, Jack Nicklaus, Phil Mickelson, John Daly, just like we measured him right there. And we could look at their right arms and just say, oh, this is the effect of that. Just saying, okay, John Daly has it tucked into here. He begins to untuck it. That's the effect on his swing. When he starts down, if he wants to hit it well, he's got to get it in here. So let's observe how he does that. We do the same for Phil. When Phil gets a top, okay, he's got some space here, but he's really in. So when he starts down, he doesn't have much rerouting to do. We can observe the amount of tucked in arm, and we can draw conclusions off of that. We do the same with Jack Nicklaus. Okay, Jack, you got here. You've got some flyaway elbow. If the arm is not too far inside, but you're going to have to reattach at some point. You watch him do that. There is a way of measuring it. It's not like we'll tell that to Jack Nicklaus. No, it's like these players have these variables, and if they want to get better, I suggest eliminating those variables. And it's not discrediting the player. It's saying that the player had to manage these variables in their swing throughout a playing career, and they were able to do so. As their coach, what I would do is eliminate those variables so that they don't have to practice as much, work on their swing as much, and they'll be much more efficient. As we have seen with other players I've shown you today. And even that whole spectrum of players in the AJGA, top 10, top 12-ish range, you're seeing the same pattern of trail arm motion. So anything out here is inefficient. Let's continue on. Okay, the same guy came back in. Apple Green 4118 says, I tried tucking in the right elbow, started shanking big time. It ain't for me. I like a slow, loose swing. Ernest Jones golf philosophy. Okay, so there's a few things we got to talk about here. I tried tucking in the right elbow. So it's very ambiguous. Did this person do it correctly? That's the first thing that comes to my mind. If they tucked in their elbow and they're doing this correctly and they start shanking it, what does that tell me about their swing? Well, it tells me that they were coming from a place of this arm out. So with the arm being out, there's a good chance this player was swinging steeper down into the ball. I don't think this player, this commenter, rerouted the club into this position. Because if they did, they would start shanking the ball. Right arm in puts them in the correct position. So they're here, and they're shanking it. What's that tell you? It tells you that their old swing needs to make this change. They need to switch over. They're doing an entirely different move. So you're telling me that I tried something completely different from what I'm doing right now and it didn't work in 5 minutes? Well, good luck. Good luck finding success in golf if it doesn't work in 5 minutes. That's why I'm really sick of the whole YouTube tips thing with do this for 5 minutes and it sells. It sells like hotcakes and golfers continue to buy this stuff up. That's why I had to make some titles on my videos that said do this for 5 minutes because frankly, it sells. If you're in YouTube business, that 5-minute stuff sells. I got out of that because it's too cheesy for me and I don't like where that leads. I don't want people to believe that golf can just be one giant quick fix game. I believe that you can make small adjustments to see big improvements. However, when you make small adjustments, you better do them correctly. You better, when you get the arm tucked in, don't just like say, oh, I got it tucked in and be here. A lot of golfers will be out. So when they tuck it in, they'll feel this. They won't even be tucked in. They'll say, I tried. And then they skip on to the next tip. And then they go through this endless cycle of searching through tips on YouTube until they find something that works. But the thing that works for you most quickly, the tips that work quickly are the ones that already feel good to you. Those are the ones that, okay, I'm doing this 5-minute tip and I got to lift my arms higher, let's say. Well, that's already comfortable to you. They're the ones that have the quickest effect because people shy away from things that make them uncomfortable. If you want actual improvement and you're here, I'm going to put you here. And you're going to say, Tom, that feels so weird. I don't trust it because it won't feel good in 5 minutes. Lazy. No, put it in here. The club starts down shallower. And you know what? Do that for a few weeks and then stick with it for another few weeks. Tell me where you are in the end. I guarantee you're going to be a much better golfer if you were to apply yourself at one thing for a few weeks to months versus applying yourself to 100 YouTube 5-minute tips in a span of a week and just continually, like lemmings, running from tip to tip. This stuff drives me nuts. I really want golfers to get better. Golfers should not be wandering. I worked on 3 things in my swing in the past 4 years. The average golfer is probably working on 100 things in their swing in maybe a few months, especially when golf season starts picking up. So this person said, I tried tucking in the elbow and I started shanking it. You know why? Because your path went from this steep and over the top thing to all of a sudden you're hitting out to the ball and you don't know what to do with it in 5 minutes. So of course you're going to start shanking it. You're here and you're pushing out. You're trying to hit it the old way, but you got the arm in. So now, boom, you're pushing out harder, and that heel hosel is starting to come in contact with the ball. But if you gave it a few months instead of being so dang impatient, you would be in a much better place. Now this brings me to the next line of the comment. It ain't for me. I like a slow, loose swing. I once again think that the handicap of this player is rather high because a slow, loose swing isn't something that we see common among the best ball strikers. What you find in a slow, loose swing, slow and loose tells me, one, slow, you have to rely on tempo in your swing. So if you're relying on tempo, that means your swing requires a higher degree of timing. So slow just tells you that this person has a very wild swing. If you connect, there are things in the golf swing that contribute to contact. One of those is lead arm straight, elbows together, right arm in. If you keep this unit intact all the way throughout the swing, you're going to have a much more structured swing that powers the shoulders and the rest of the body. So your body's all connected when you create structure. A slow, loose swing often contributes to a lack of body movement. You have to coordinate more pieces. The pieces don't get pulled around together. So if I have loose arms, I could be here at the top, but my hips don't move, my shoulders don't move. Okay, so I can have loose arms, turn my hips and turn my shoulders. I have to tell myself to do all those things. Get some structure though, watch. Pull the shoulders around, hips get pulled around, everything goes. So I'm not thinking about coordinating 5 different things. So that whole philosophy of slow and loose is not something that contributes to good contact. It's not something that's going to contribute to power because you're having so many breakdowns in your swing, so many slowdowns, this slows down the shoulders on the way through. You then have to re-straighten your arm and figure out how to... There's so many things that I could cover in a future video on this. But this person basically saying, I'm going back to my old ways of swinging 20 to 30 handicap, essentially, and staying stuck in that box because they're not willing to make a change. That's what that tells me. It just tells me pure laziness. If you want to get good, start putting some structure into your swing. All right, Fran Pesci. Tom, you're not making a veal golf swing with your arm out. You're doing that on purpose. Seen a lot of good golfers with their arm out. We've talked about this already. I've shown you many players keeping the arm tucked in, and those who get it out reattach. They don't go this way. They keep it tucked in. I am making a real golf swing with the arm out. I'm showing you what it is like to make a golf swing with the arm out. If I keep it out, the shaft moves steep and over. If I keep it out, tuck it in, now the shaft is in a good position, like those pros you're talking about. And that's what I'm saying is those pros have to reattach the arm. They can't simply keep it tucked out. Shaking my head over this stuff. All right, James Cameron 314. Oh yes, this third-rate hacker plays so much better than Jack Nicklaus did. So at some point, the person who is really irritated or can't accept a new idea, they have this thing go on in their head called a trigger. And when they get triggered, they're mad and they start getting redder in the face and they have to fire off quick insults. So that's basically what you're seeing there with James. And I've already explained Jack Nicklaus, so we don't have to go through this again. And I hit shots like Jack Nicklaus did. I don't have any desire to play on TV. I want to play guitar and help golfers play great golf. That's what I do. When we look at the trail arm, while you see a variety of golfers doing it in to varying degrees, some are closer here, some are almost fully attached, some are a little farther away, some untuck, we have the following conclusion. If you untuck, you must reattach. That's said in the episode. If you allow space here between the arm and the side, I mean, it's not fully glued against the side, it's still tucked in. When I go to the top, even though there is space between the elbow and the side, the arm position itself is still here. Look, that's my top of backswing. It's the same I had at setup. I'm not changing it. So the more space I have, the more at the top I'll have space, but it's still tucked in. The less space I have at the top, it's still the same amount of tucked in as somebody who was here. The variable is the amount of space you have between the side, elbow and the side, determines the consistency of your downswing, the path of your downswing. Golfers who get it farther away must get it closer and reattach it. That's all that means. If you want to go around believing nonsense, though, you're going to continue wandering, because we could show across every great player, we could just sit in a room together and we look at every player. Someone even sent me a swing of some guy in the UK or Wales. I can't remember this player. Like, he was up here and then I'm watching him get into the ball and it's reattached. It was the most ridiculous backswing, but still reattached the arm. Do you want to go through life doing the same things you've always done, always been taught, and shooting the same score you've been shooting, relying on timing and variables? Or would you rather go through life knowing that you only get one shot at life with a much more efficient swing with less variables, less to think about, and have it all coordinated by a central body movement? Sadly, many golfers choose to go through life doing the same old things they've been doing, and they will swing the same old way they've always swung. And few golfers find true happiness, which relies on a swing that doesn't require so many coordinating variables. So if you're looking to learn a swing like that, check out my online golf school, segudo.golf. It's a structured step-by-step program of eliminating variables to a consistent swing. You can even get started in my free mini course at go.segudo.golf. I got links in the comments and description below. Golfers are amazed at how well they start playing when they eliminate variables. Does it happen right away? For some of you, it will. Most of you, it will happen sticking to these changes for a few months to a year. That's why the average Segudo Golf member who joins my program drops 9 shots in 12 months, gains 14 yards in under 12 months. So give yourself time to make a change and you will see your efforts multiply versus doing 100 swing changes and continuing on the same path you've been on. If you're fed up with continuing down that same path, it's time to make a change. You put garbage in, you get garbage out. You put good things in, you work on them, you get good things out. We need to rewire that program. Thanks for watching.